Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello students, nice to meet you again. Here we have poetry class. And the title, The Person in the Poem. Last week we talked about this and we will continue our discussion, The Person in the Poem. And you know, last week we talked that the person in the poem can be the poet himself or someone else, or maybe something. Here, last week, we also talked the title of the poem, White Lies. In this poem, we talk about a child, a black child, who wants to be the white one. But there is a problem because actually she is not white, but she is Negro or black. And it becomes problem because in America at the time, black should be black and white should be white. They are different. And we also talk about the condition in America where race is always sensitive. Talking about race is talking about sensitive problem. And then in this poem, Prithvi, as the writer or the poet, wants to tell us that his or her action to be white, she wants to be white like his father. It is called as white lies because actually she is black, but she wants to be white. And then last week I also gave you an example of the Philippines. When they go to the movie and they find a villain or a criminal, then they take their pistol and shoot the screen. It seems that the Philippines cannot distinguish whether it is an art or it is real life. Okay, now we continue. When the poet says I, we may want to assume that he or she is making a personal statement. But reflect, do all poems have to be personal? Here is a brief poem inscribed on the tombstone of an infant in Burial Hill Cemetery, Plymouth, Massachusetts. So when the poet says I or writes I, it doesn't mean that the person in the poem is the poet himself. It can be someone else or maybe something else, not human, but things. And here is an example, a short poem. Since I have been so quickly done for, I wonder what I was begun for. Since I have been so quickly done for, it means that she is or he is born quickly. I wonder what I was begun for. Please remember the context of this poem. Yeah. This poem was inscribed on the tombstone. Do you know tombstone? Tombstone? Yes, tombstone of an infant, small child, in Burial Hill Cemetery, Plymouth, Massachusetts, in America. Yeah? So if you don't understand these words, just check in your dictionary. What is tombstone and what is Burial Hill Cemetery? I think you understand well. Eh? What is tombstone and Burial Hill Cemetery? And you find this short poem. Since I have been so quickly done for, I wonder what I was begun for. It's a question from the person in the cemetery. We don't know who wrote those lines, but it is clear that the poet was not a short-lived infant writing from personal experience. Why? Do you know? Why? The poet was not a short-lived infant writing from personal experience. You know that a baby or an infant cannot write anything. But why? It is the voice of a baby. So you can imagine that the statement, we don't know who wrote these lines, although it says I, but it is not the poet. Yeah? Because we are convinced, we understand that the poet will not be an infant, while the voice in the tombstone is the voice of an infant. In other poems, the speaker is obviously a persona or fictitious character, not the poet, but the poet's creation. Yeah? So pay attention here, the boldface, persona. Yeah? Persona is a fictitious character created by the poet. As a grown man, William Blake, a skilled professional engraver, wrote a poem in the voice of a boy, the illiterate chimney sweeper. So William Blake is a very well-known poet at the time, and he is already grown up. But he writes a poem as if he is still a boy. The title of the poem is Chimney Sweeper. But later, I will give you this poem. Let's consider a poem spoken not by a poet, but by a persona. In this case, a mysterious one. Yeah? Now, after this, I gave you an example of a poem employing persona. Yeah? Edwin Arlington's Robinson's Look Havergal is a dramatic monologue, but the identity of the speaker is never clearly stated. So after this slide, we will talk about Look Havergal, yeah? Dramatic monologue. You have to remember what is the meaning of dramatic monologue. Yeah? When we first meet, I gave you the definition of dramatic monologue. Upon first reading the poem in Robinson's The Children of the Night, President Theodore Roosevelt was so moved that he wrote a review of the book that made the author famous. So, Look Havergal was written in as one of the poem in The Children of the Night. And at the time, President Theodore Roosevelt, US President, so moved. Do you know the meaning of so moved? Yeah, so moved. His feeling is he feels something deeply. That he wrote a review of the book that made the author famous. Actually, Edwin Arlington Robinson at the time was not a famous poet, but because the president, Theodore Roosevelt, write a review, then he becomes famous. Roosevelt, however, admitted that he found the musically seductive poem difficult. I'm not sure I understand Look African, he wrote, but I'm entirely sure I like it. So at the time, Roosevelt, the president, says that he doesn't understand actually the meaning of Look African or who is Look African. But according to him, according to Roosevelt, he is entirely sure I like it. He liked to read the poem. Possibly what most puzzled our 26th president was who was speaking in the poem. How much does Robinson let us know about the voice and the person it addresses? So the president at the time was very confused about the speaker or the person in the poem. You know, we take a look at the poem, long poem. Yeah? I will read it for you. Edwin Arlington Robinson, Look Africa. Go to the western gate, look Africa. There were the vines crimson on the wall, and at the twilight, wait for what will come. The leaves will whisper their over, and some, like flying words, will strike you as they fall. But go, and if you listen, she will call. Go the western gate, look Africa, look Africa. Here in this first stanza, go to the western gate, look Africa. What is the western gate? And then there were the vines crimson on the wall. What is wine? What is crimson on the wall? And in the twilight wait for what will come. It is a kind of condition. Afternoon, in the afternoon, approaching Maghrib, approaching dark. The leaves will whisper their offer. Do you know the leaves? The leaves of trees. Whisper. It is kind of personification. No, there is not a dawn in eastern skies to reef the fiery night that's in your eyes. But there, where western glooms are gathering, the dark will end the dark. If anything, God slays himself with every leaf that flies. And hell is more than half of paradise. No, there is not a dawn in eastern skies. In eastern skies. So, the writer, Edwin Arlington, tries to give us a kind of portrayal about life, about scenery, approaching the dark. After Asar, in the western, in the eastern. Yeah? Western, usually we will find darkness. In eastern, we will find dawn in the morning. Yeah? But then where western glooms are gathering, western glooms are gathering, the dark will end the dark. You know that at night, very dark. But God slays himself with every leaf that flies. God slays himself. Yeah? It's kind of commit suicide. Yeah? And hell is more than half of paradise. hell. Do you know hell? Hell is more than half of paradise. No, there is not a dawn in eastern skies. In eastern skies. Dawn in eastern skies, it means that the darkness in the morning, in the sky, morning sky. According to this statement, no, there is not a dawn in eastern skies. In eastern skies. It is like something impossible. But we don't know exactly what is the meaning of this statement by the poet. Out of grief, I come to tell you this. Out of grief, I come to quench the kiss that flames upon your forehead with a glow that blinds you to the way that you must go. Yes, there is yet one way to where she is, bitter, but one that wit may never miss. Out of grief, I come to tell you this, to tell you this. Out of grief. Do you know grief? It's cemetery. I come to tell you this. Do you know? Out of grief, I come to tell you this. It seems like someone who is already dead and then wake up again and goes to us and then tell something. Out of grief, I come to quench the kiss that flames upon your forehead with a glow that blinds you to the way that you must go. So the dead person becomes alive and reminds someone else to do something. You must go to do something. Yes, there is yet one way to where she is. Bitter, but one that faith may never miss. So you want to remind someone to do something, although it's actually not comfortable. It's bitter, but she must go. Out of grief, I come to tell you this, to tell you this. So it is kind of dead person who wants to live again, to do something or to do something else to someone. To tell you this, to tell you this. It's a kind of confession, confession from the dead person to want to live again and to do something positive in his life. There is the western kid. Look, Havergal. There are the crimson leaves upon the wall. Go, for the winds are tearing them away. Not a thing to riddle the dead words that they say, nor any more to feel them as they fall. But go, and if you trust her, she will call. There is the western kid. Look, Havergal. Look, Havergal. Here, the President Roosevelt get difficulties in understanding who is the speaker of this poem. And until now, the President is still confused. Now we have a question here. Who is the speaker of the poem? What specific details does the author reveal about the speaker? So if probably you mention someone is the speaker of the poem, then please show what specific details does the author reveal about the speaker. So maybe there are some words that support your answer. And then number two, what does the speaker ask Luke Havergal to do? What does the speaker ask Luke Havergal to do? So in the poem, the speaker wants to ask Luke Havergal to do something. What kinds of action And then number 3, what do you understand the Western kid to be? So what is the meaning of the Western kid? The Eastern kid, the Western kid. Western kid refer to something in the end, yeah? But Eastern kid, something like the start of something. Yeah? So please try to understand what the Western kid is. And then number 4, would you advise Luke Havergal to follow the speaker's advice? Why or why not? So the speaker, I want to remind you who is the speaker. Yeah? The speaker wants to be alive again and advise Luke Havergal to follow the speaker's voice. So now, from your point of view, would you advise Luke Havergal to follow the speaker's advice? Yes or no? If yes, why? And no, why? No literary law decrees that the speaker in the poem even has to be human. Good poems have been uttered by clouds, pebbles, clocks, and cats. So remember this. Yeah? The conclusion of our discussion. No literary law decrees. There is no law. Yeah? There is no law that the speaker in a poem even has to be human. So it is not a must that the speaker in the poem is a human. It can be something else or someone else. It can be uttered by clouds in the sky, yeah? Or maybe clocks, pebbles, cats, yeah? Animal. It can be. So remember this. That's important point of our discussion today. So please remember that the person in the poem is not always a person, but it can also someone else, something. It can be something alive. It can be something dead. So please remember this. I think it's enough for you for today. Stay safe, stay healthy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.